In today's video, we're going to theorize some of the potentially broken abilities Asta might learn coming up in the manga, and a lot of these are ideas directly from a couple viewers of mine, so I'm going to put their names up whenever they pop up into the video, so thank you so much for all of these different ideas. The first ability I theorize Asta might be able to utilize in the manga is actually to use anti-magic in conjunction with his allies' magic, and it does sound like the two of them would oppose each other, but we've seen with Demon Slasher that Asta is able to kind of freely pick who and what his sword actually cuts, so we could actually apply this to the anti-magic and the magic that would be at play. Maybe he could kind of use this in conjunction with his Demon Dweller sword and launch out anti-magic attacks that also have his allies' magic, and they can both hit the enemy, and this would be very devastating to have anti-magic and, you know, a powered up version of his allies' magic actually hit an enemy, and this would be very crucial in fights against someone like Lucius, where he could actually use anti-magic to stop it, and maybe you launch Yuno's magic or anybody else's magic at Lucius himself. So I can definitely see a lot of devastating amounts of damage being done with Asta utilizing this ability, and I really do think this is possible after the introduction of the Demon Slasher and the fact that he can kind of pick and choose what he actually attacks. I think he could actually pick and choose what his anti-magic kind of negates, and he would be able to utilize this with that conjunction ability. Before we actually get into the second potential ability, don't forget to like and subscribe, as I make many videos very similar to this one, and if you're liking this one, definitely consider stopping by again and watching some of my other videos. Thank you. Another ability that a viewer might thought up was, what if Asta was able to utilize anti-magic orbs, and I've always wanted him to do this, and I feel like it would be very easy for Tabata to really introduce this concept into the story. When Asta had first utilized his Devil Union form, you see that in one of the panels he actually has these sort of orbs kind of circling around him, and I always thought he would actually kind of use these orbs in that way, you know, as anti-magic orbs, kind of moving them around, somewhat like a truth-seeking orb from Naruto, if you remember that, but he never really does that, and I feel like it would be very easy for Tabata to kind of utilize this and have Asta actually use these in conjunction with his own swords and him fighting. Imagine if these orbs were kind of condensed form of anti-magic, and he was able to kind of track magic automatically with them and, you know, use this while he's fighting different enemies. That would be very devastating, and you can already see where this is kind of going, where Asta himself is already very tricky to fight, and if he's able to do that and have these orbs fly around and weaken the enemy, take away their magic in conjunction with his swords and all that, it would be very devastating, and I can definitely see it kind of being a almost guaranteed kind of attack on a person if these orbs actually touch you, since it would really stop anybody that utilizes magic, which is everybody in this world. So I can definitely see anti-magic orbs being a big power-up that Asta could use, and I really do want to have Tabata kind of introduce this into the story, since it would just be so easy for him to do it, but he hasn't done it yet, but I really want him to, and I think this is an excellent ability, and I really do love that one of my viewers actually kind of thought this up, so I really don't want to see this happen later on in the story. Another interesting one theorized by a viewer of mine would be anti-magic that takes the form of a sort of trap magic very similar to Zora's innate magic ability. The way I actually imagine this ability working is that Asta would be able to kind of have his anti-magic lay in wait at certain points in a fight, or certain places maybe on the floor, and maybe he can actually have it just kind of exist in the air, and he would actually have them kind of lay in wait for opponents, and maybe if they pass by it would kind of self-attack them or automatically attack the opponent, and, you know, have anti-magic actually come into contact with them and weaken them. And I think this is actually very cool, and I do think this would be something that Asta can kind of use to really get into the opponent's mind and kind of have them think like, you know, maybe I can't stand here, or maybe I shouldn't be here right now, since at any moment they could actually be attacked with anti-magic, and anti-magic itself is very devastating. So you can imagine if it came out of nowhere and you're instantly weakened when you thought you were going to go on the offensive. This would be very useful in a fight, and I do think Asta could kind of utilize this, and it would be very useful for Asta to use in conjunction with those magic orbs that we mentioned before, and him using just his regular swordplay. I definitely feel like all of these different abilities do kind of work in conjunction, but this one definitely is cool to me, since Zora himself is just such a cool member of the Black Bulls, and I love his trap magic. I love how it kind of makes you have to really think about your fight and kind of, you know, plan ahead, and I do think Asta would be very useful with having some sort of ability that lets him plan ahead and kind of do things ahead of time and utilize to help him out in the fight, since Asta usually gets into his fights kind of out of nowhere. He kind of, you know, goes with the flow and fights enemies like that, but it would be very cool to see Asta actually kind of think ahead of the fight and lay traps or kind of plan ahead before he does something. I think this would be very useful for Asta. This would also help in really giving Asta the ability to kind of overload his opponent, since we do know that Lucius is just such a strong opponent, but I feel like if he's able to kind of overload him and make him like really think about all the different things going on and almost not really be able to stay on his toes, I do think that would help Asta out in his fight with them very, very much. And last but not least, one of the abilities that I really do feel like Asta should already kind of have, but we haven't really seen him specifically do, is a sort of anti-magic monozone where he encircles an entire area in just pure anti-magic, and the opponent is almost unable to use any sort of magic at all, and of course they're going to have this sort of weakened effect. And I feel like Asta kind of does similar things like this while utilizing his swords. We've seen him use the Demon Destroyer to kind of get rid of magic around him, but we've never specifically seen a sort of anti-magic monozone or something similar to that, where like just the entire area just cut off from magic completely. And I feel like maybe this would be sort of like an ultimate move for him, like something that he would utilize as the final ability of his Devil Union form, where he's able to just completely nullify any and all magic in that area, completely cutting it off, and you aren't able to really do anything at all inside of this area. There's no reason to even explain just how useful this would be in fighting, very strong opponents like Lucius that are also very physical. Lucius is able to kind of get in close to Asta, and he's able to really fight Asta even without utilizing magic a lot, but we do know that anti-magic does kind of weaken your body itself, so I know that if he was able to actually just always be having Lucius weakened, it would probably help him out a lot in his fight with them. And I think that the anti-magic monozone would be kind of similar to Yami's Black Moon, where maybe Asta kind of throws up this anti-magic orb and it stays up in the air and it's continuously weakening the opponent, and it would be kind of impossible for the opponent to even kind of destroy this Black Moon or the anti-magic circle, since it would be anti-magic, and any and all magic that touches it would probably just get dispersed and taken away. So we can obviously see just how powerful this would be for Asta to utilize, and I really do want him to do this. And I've also looked around the internet and I see that a lot of people also share this sentiment. They really want Asta to have some sort of anti-magic monozone or something similar, and they've been saying this for years now, so I definitely do think it is kind of up to the Bata right now to kind of utilize this and show it into the story. But I do want it to be very similar to Yami's Black Moon. I do want to see that, but I want it to just be anti-magic, and I just think it would be such a cool ability for Asta to use, and I definitely do think this would be kind of like the pinnacle of his Devil Union form, maybe like in the perfect Devil Union where he does that. His ultimate move that will really save him is going to be just the fact that he's able to just completely nullify any and all magic with no questions asked all around him. It would be very cool to see that, and I really do want Tabata to somewhat in some way introduce this into the story whenever he does that, but I do want to see it eventually. And those are just a couple of the ideas I feel that Asta could learn in the near future, and I might make a part 2 on this video since there's a lot of other abilities I've been thinking of that we haven't seen Asta use, but he probably could at some point. With that being said, definitely let me know if you have any other ideas of what Asta could utilize in the future, different anti-magic abilities. I do want to hear your guys' thoughts since I really do love topics like this. But with that being said, also let me know what you guys thought of the video and if you liked it or not. Also, like the video if you liked it and subscribe. It really does help me out, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys for stopping by and liking and subscribing to the channel. Also, follow my socials. I have them up in the right corner. I just want to say thank you everyone for watching, and I'm out. Peace.